And one of them, this fellow was named Donald Gray. I forget the name of the other one. But Mr. Gray was a navigator in Bomber Command, and the other chap was a pilot. And Donald Gray noticed that on my blazer, he said, I noticed you're wearing a caterpillar, which means you had to do a bailout, make an emergency jump. Tell me about that. So I told him how it all happened. I also noticed that you're wearing a guinea pig badge. What was that all about? I said, well, on my very first trip, when the plane blew up, I said, medical authorities on the station thought I had a very bad scratch, so they sent me on leave for a week. But when I got on leave, my uncle had survived the Second World War, as my dad did, and his two brothers didn't make it.
First World War.
But when I was there about the third day, my uncle said, let me have a look at that arm. So he had a look at it, and he said, by Jove, he said, I don't like the look of it. He said, there's an anti-aircraft battery not far from Hull. And Hull, next to London, was the most bombed city in Britain because it was easy to find. It was on what they call the Wash and the Humber River. And all that was left there was just yards and yards of concrete. So when I saw the medical officer, he said, well, there was a raid 2 nights ago, and I ran out of bandages, he said. But he said, you've got a phosphorus burn. And he said, I'm going to treat it with fish oil. But I don't have any bandages, so I'm going to wrap it in newspaper. But he said, what station are you from? I told him. He said, well, you better get back to the station as soon as possible. So I caught the train in Hull. And of course, in England, as you know, there's 3 people sitting on this side and 3 people on this side. And I wasn't there very long, and I could see that they were sniffing and wondering where the fish were because I really wasn't carrying anything. So I had to explain to them, and then, of course, to make matters worse, I had to change trains in York. And then, of course, the same thing happened. I had to explain to them why I smell like a fish. So when I got back to the station, I went to see the medical officer, and he said to me, oh, well, if you've got a phosphorus burn, he said, where do you want to go for treatment? I said, doctor, I have absolutely no idea where I should go. Well, he said, there's a hospital at Basingstoke. I said, yes, that was a famous hospital during the First World War. Well, he said, it's still there, so I'll send you to Basingstoke. So when I got to Basingstoke, of course, they were so busy treating fellows that had been burned in tanks. There were some vicious tank battles in Italy. And of course, I'm walking around. I look 100% healthy because I had my blazer on and couldn't see it. So they kept me there for a week, and then somebody got the idea, well, we better send him to East Grinstead, to the RAF burn hospital, where they were experimenting and treating burns. And it eventually got the name of the Guinea Pig Club. And that came about one morning. They noticed that during the Battle of Britain, the pilots that bailed out and landed in the North Sea or in the English Channel, they noticed that the burns were quicker. So they came to the conclusion it must be the salt water. So they decided to put the airmen in these baths with lots of salt water. And one morning, the chief surgeon, he was actually from New Zealand, and they had an Englishman in the tub getting soaked. That's how they took the scabs off. Prior to that, they used to actually pull them off, which was very painful. And the surgeon said, "Good morning." And the chap in the tub said, "You know, sir, we're just a bunch of bloody guinea pigs." And Sir Archibald McIntosh said, "You know, we should form a club. We should call it the Guinea Pig Club." And really, that's what they did. The interesting part of that, Douglas Patter, the one that lost both legs, but he talked him into going flying again. And they said, "We'll make Douglas the treasurer, then he can't run away with the money."